Baseball is a simple game, folks. You hit the ball, you catch the ball, you throw the ball. You do not leave runners on base, nor do you not strike out 12 times. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Phightins Final. Here on EOP with your boy Matty B, joined. It's been a postseason tradition by Big Al and Joe Marks of the Patterson Fanatics. Gentlemen, I'm just going to let you roll with this one. I said my little 2 cents to start it off with. Al, let's get to you. How you feeling?
Well, deflated. I mean, listen, anything but a win would have made me happy. You know, anything that could have happened. But the win is what I wanted, no matter how it happened. This game played out kind of the way I guess I expected it to, in the sense that, you know, a tight game through the whole time. You know, a 3-2 type game, which we probably expected this entire series to be for the most part. This is the first time we've had that. I mean, there's some good, some bad you can take away from this, but ultimately, like you just said, you leave runners in scoring position, you strike out, especially at the top of the order, as much as you did. It's going to be hard to win these games. The fact that they were in it just shows you how much fighting's in these Phillies. But ultimately, the baseball gods were not on our side tonight.
Joe Marks.
Yeah, you know, when I heard the stat earlier, I think it was in the 7th or 8th inning, about before Segura broke it, about
we might have lost him.
You know, 0 for 2. Am I breaking out?
Oh, you're good now.
All right. Well, 0 for 20 with runners in scoring position. It just it reminded me of what you've been saying all season, Matt.
You're going in and out again, bud.
All right, I'm gonna try out your laptop. I'll talk to you.
Okay. What I'll say this is, the difference between you, me, Joey Marks, anybody here at EOP, plus compared to what we, you know, who announces the games on Fox, you're going to get emotion. So you're going to have a quieter, you know, reaction show tonight than you would have if they won. But I mean, you know, I want to kind of walk through this game for a second with you. You know, they started off with, you know, Noah Syndergaard let off that home run. I mean, I'm sorry, not the home run, single in the RBI. You know, we kind of like, uh-oh, here we go. Is Syndergaard going to be able to go 3 or 4 innings? You know, is that going to be possible? And then you had to strike him out, throw him out, and that half of the inning, and you're like, okay, momentum. And then here comes Schwarber, lead off home run, does what he does, and you're like, okay, all right, is Verlander going to be able to do his job? And he was able to get off the schneid. He was able to get that elusive World Series victory that he was looking for, because he was on for the rest of the night, for the rest of his night, I should say. We were able to break a streak from the bullpen, because, you know, they have not given up a run to this point, and we were able to do that, but not enough. At that point, we needed a simple fly out to left or right field, center field, anywhere, somewhere enough distance to score somebody to tie the game. Didn't happen. Schwarber, you know, I know people weren't huge with him, you know, in the leadoff position, but here he comes up in a big position, smokes a ball. That was a great play. JT at the end of in the 9th inning, smokes a ball about 5 feet from being a home run. That should have been a double or triple 99.9% of the time. And local kid McCormick makes that play. So baseball guys were on Houston's side a lot more tonight than it was on the Phillies. But I mean, listen, this team, as far as until they're done, I'm not off the train. I still think they can do it. It's a tough mountain to climb, but as long as the old poker saying, a chip in a chair, they have the chip, they have the chair. This time the chair is going to be in Houston.
No, and I agree with you, Al. It's not over. We've still got a lot of baseball left. I mean, we're running out of outs, but we got some baseball left to go. Game 6 is still in our you know, right down the street here. But when you look at Rhys Hoskins and JT Realmuto as just the two of them, you know, 0 for 10 or 0 for 9 tonight with 7 strikeouts combined. I mean, when you're getting nothing out of those two spots in the top of the order, the fact that you score 2 runs is kind of a miracle. And you mentioned that shows the resiliency of this team and their willingness to not give up. But boy, was Reese Hoskins horrible. What could be possibly his final game as a Philly at Citizen Bank Park.
Possibly.
It's just a dreadful night. And then defensively, he commits that play. I mean, down the first base line, allows that third run to score. Is it hard for me, or should folks not kind of point at Reese Hoskins tonight?
Well, it wasn't just Reese.
This loss.
It wasn't just Reese.
Yeah.
But the problem is Reese was the coldest of the cold. I mean, JT, like I just said, he was 5 feet away from being a home run or at least a double or a triple. He did in that, like I said, he was robbed. Like, I mean, give all the kudos to McCormick for playing like one of probably the most top defensive play, not just in the entire World Series, not just in the postseason, but probably entire season to date. So he wasn't able to be the hero of Game 5 as it was in Game 1. Schwarbers does his job. He gets his at bats. He gets his pitches. He hits the ball hard. He does his job. Hoskins' problem is when he's cold, it's ice cold. It's not just he's cold. Even the Gene Segura, I mean, up until recently, he's been very cold too. I think it was like 4 for 20 in the since the Braves series. And but he came up clutch when he needed to. It was just the ultimate problem in lies is that Reese is so cold. It's hard to rally behind him and go, okay, maybe he'll have something. Maybe he'll be he'll be able to be a hero. But I see right here. I'm going to point this out. Robert Plank, no discipline in the box. Started many strikes, 3 swings, junk way out of the zone all night, and that I'll still blame Reese for, but I'll give Nick Castellanos at least tonight. He was a little bit more plate discipline, especially as the night went on. But just the way it ended with that little dribbler to third, I mean, you couldn't even try to make it sound good off the bat.
I mean, I told you this off camera. I told you this when Hoskins got hit, or when Bryce got hit with that pitch in the ninth, and then Nick Castellanos was coming up. I was like, oh no, this could be the worst thing that could happen to us right now. And I'm sure out there in EOP land and sports land, you guys were thinking the same thing I was.
I thought they were going to walk him. I literally just thought he was going to get up and they were going to walk him. I was waiting for the boos. I was waiting for him I mean, I know he's there. You put the winning run on, or the tying run on base, and the running run comes to the plate if you do that. But I would think for how hot, and like that's the thing is, we got to keep giving Bryce Harper kudos. When he comes up, he produces.
Yeah.
He may not produce the run, but he gets the walk. He doesn't get the big out all the time. He can produce. He does what superstars are supposed to be. Because how many times, and not just in Philly, but in professional sports alone, has a superstar came to a town, signed some major contract, and just didn't produce. So I'm really surprised that they pitched to Harper at all. Unless it was like kind of not that I think they meant to hit him, but maybe it was that kind of intentional walk. Like don't throw him anything he can hit.
Well, and that's what that hit pitch was. It was he was going to give him anything to hit. I mean, it was everything was down and in, and it was bound to happen, or a walk was going to happen. Joe, welcome back. I hope you get the technical issues there under control. Real quick, Joe, if you want to just jump in with your point about how you're feeling with this loss tonight.
Yeah, I mean, look, this loss was gigantic in the perspective that it almost, we used the title last night, put a stranglehold on the series, and that's what the Astros basically did to us tonight. And I was, I'm listening in, and here's the thing: is Bryce has done everything in this postseason that has been expected of him and more, all things considered. But when it really counts, and me and you, Al, we've had this conversation about Reese, and I said, he's not going to be a Philly by the end of next year. And you said, well, it would take some postseason heroics. And up to this point, Reese has done a lot in the postseason. But when you don't come through when you have your 2, 3, and 4 guys coming up in the bottom of the ninth with the potential of walking off this game, and you can't muster like a guy in scoring position, that's just not good enough. And I mean, I've said that to Matty B all year, is that there has to be a structure where, similar to the way that the Cardinals lineup is, when Goldschmidt and Arenado and everything, when those guys come up, pitchers are aware that they can do damage. On any given night, they can do damage. On any given night, I don't think Reese and JT's 0 for 15, 16 this World Series. So I mean, yeah, he's a great catcher, but when you miss what you're supposed to do in front of Bryce Harper, um, that is not giving protection to the MV3.
No, I agree. And, kudos, though, to Thor. I'm going to give Noah Syndergaard a shout out. He got off to a rocky start. Had that, as you mentioned, now that strikeout, throw out, double play. Settled down. And actually, I don't know, man. I kind of was thinking that they would bring him back for one more inning. I mean, he looked pretty good. He was putting them down. You couldn't have asked more of what Noah Syndergaard gave you tonight. So,
well, you knew it was going to be a short leash with him. I mean,
yeah.
As soon as he gave up that home run in the fourth, the pitching change came, and here comes Brogdon. By the way, give Brogdon some kudos.
Yeah,
he looked locked in. You know what I mean? Speaking of pitching, I know you put it up earlier, but I'm going to put it back for a second. Wrong one. This is the right one. Here you go. Wheeler going to pitch a gem on Saturday. Never had a Game 7 in Phillies playoff history, so we are due. That is the ultimate question. I believe any other day he could pitch a gem. My feeling. I'm just hoping this injury is not more than we think it is. The extra time off gives him some rest. I guess that's the whole reason they went with Nola, then Noah, to give him that extra day for the travel off to rest, on top of being ready for Game 6. I mean, I'm going to guess, just like Syndergaard was tonight, he will be on a short leash. If it doesn't look pretty, it ain't going to be last long. But, Topper said it himself, like, it's all hands on deck. So you're going to see some crazy moves. You might see some starting pitchers come in. You might see Ranger, or you might see Ranger start in Game 7. I mean, there could be a lot of, if there's a Game 7, there could be a lot of different scenarios. The day off is going to come in handy. I mean, Alvarado is going to get some rest. Dominguez, I mean, he just can't pitch 2 innings. I don't want to ever see him pitch 2 innings again in a row. I know it's ridiculous to say, but it's just the way some players are. I just don't see.
Well, that was the first time Presley ever had a 5-out outing.
And it was almost a 5-footer difference between him blowing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a hell of a play out there by McCormack in center field. Freddie Burns says, can we score runs? Who's going for the Stros? It's a Farmer. It is Farmer. He'll be composed by Zach Wheeler on Saturday for Game 6.
You mean Fraber?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, Fraber. Yeah,
whatever it is.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's a hard one to pronounce, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be him. I guess the only good part, if you want to find any silver lining in him going up, is we've seen what he has, so we can kind of prepare for it a little bit. I mean, you saw it kind of backfire. They thought they had the recipe to just shut down the Phillies for the rest of the postseason, and Schwarber made them pay quickly for it. And then, but I guess at the same time, you have to give Verlander a little credit, a little love, and not love, but credit in this case, because he was able to go back to what he does and do it well. He didn't leave too many things in a good position to hit, but when he did, we just didn't capitalize on it. When we had guys in scoring position, we didn't capitalize on it. And that will be the difference, is capitalizing. We're getting guys on base. It's just getting guys on base and getting across the plate. That is there becoming the problem. And I know, Matty, you've been saying it all
season.
It does not make me feel any better.
It's the story all year.
But, we have to hope that they can progress. And maybe getting out of here and just kind of carrying this thing on their back and just let them do it. I mean, I know we've been saying how the crowd has been this 10th man for them, but take it to Houston. Maybe let the pressure be on Houston now to close it out. It's you can look at you could spin this two different ways. We're the last game. I mean, we do our best work with 2 outs. Well, what's the most closest thing you could have to a 2-out situation? Is I have a game 4 possible or a possible losing scenario for us. So let's see how we work.
Let's. Al, I want to talk to you about the 10th man. Obviously, on Tuesday night, it was in full display at the bank. I don't know, man. The last 2 nights, to include tonight, there was some lulls in that. I don't if it was, I maybe listen. I can hear the walk-up music all the way to the plate. I don't know, Al. I'm a little.
I'm disagreeing with that. Here's my thing: is yes, that's an easy game for nobody to sit down for the entire time. That game 3 on Tuesday night. That's easy. Game 2, they couldn't get hits. It gets deflating, and that team was still. The people were still there in the 8th and 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. Still cheering, still standing up, still wearing their tails, still flipping their hats inside out, wearing them backwards, doing that stuff. Yeah, is it going to be the whole way through as it normally would be? No, that's any game. When a team's struggling, they're going to. But this place was loud as all get out when the 8th and 9th inning, when things were looking, or 7th, 8th, 9th inning, when we were some pieces in striking position. It only gets that loud when they actually do it. So if they put people across the plate, if they tied the game, took the lead, you would be asking me this question. So yes, some of that noise comes with, the good parts. Like, I mean, it's going to happen.
Yeah. Let me assure you, Matty B, tonight it was loud because I am blocks away from the stadium. And there's no way, unless that place is going decibels higher than it should, that I should be hearing it from my household. And I am hearing it from my household tonight. So believe me when I tell you that place was rocking. Now, I agree with Al in the sense that when you have those lulls, and I guess my key phrase for tonight was not allowed loud noises off the bat. Like, and I'm not just talking about home runs. I'm just saying loud noises. Like, there were a couple that were caught. Like one, I think the guy who came in for the guy that got hurt with the knee to the head. He caught
Uriel.
Yeah, Uriel.
Oh, Mancini, the first baseman to play with the off Schroeder's bat. Yeah, that was.
Yeah,
that was a nice.
I mean that was 105 off the bat.
Yeah, that was nice.
That was a loud crack. It didn't do anything, but every time there's a loud crack, you always kind of feel like something good is going to happen for the Phillies, and there wasn't a lot of that tonight. And when you have those not existing in the game, it's kind of hard for the fan base to kind of keep momentum with the team. But you heard when Eflin was pitching in the 9th, let's go Phillies, and it was like a loud chant. You heard when, and now I mentioned it, in the 8th inning when Segura got that double, how it exploded. It's kind of like what we have said before throughout the season. This team, when it rolls, it rolls. When it doesn't, it looks like a wounded animal.
It does, and Big Mike chiming in with a little anger here. This team is done. Hoskins and JT and Marsh are killing us. Actually, I disagree, Mike. I thought Marsh was actually pretty good. I know he did strike out there in that key at bat late in the game, but for that 9th position in the lineup, I can't really ask much more of that guy. I'll agree 100% with Hoskins, and then here we go with JT. He's suffering, or he's slumping again. You mentioned it, Al, though. He came within about 3 feet of total redemption out there in center field, but
that's my thing. Is what makes Hoskins stuff so much worse? It's he's striking out at the plate. He's watching the ball go by him, or he's popping out. There's not even a chance of it being fair.
And then he's mixing in some defense with them too. Then he's also making errors in the field, so he's doing the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
But can we just take Chas McCormick's Philly card away from him now? Like, After that play, I get he has to make that play, but can we take the Philly card away from him? Because
Listen,
Chas
God bless
McCormick.
him for being able to be a professional baseball player, for as young as he is, to be able to play in the World Series, and it would suck for any of us if we all grew up as Phillies fans as we did, and had to go play for another team and be in the World Series against the team that you love, that you hung your posters on the wall or jerseys that you wear. I'm sure like there's guys out there from like the '08 team that he was like, hey, I brought my Utley jersey. Could you sign it for me? But listen, that play, man, that was the dagger tonight. That was the dagger tonight. It would have been nice not to allow things to get to where it was, but I mean, let's not forget about this. Let's not forget about this, the most unconventional of double plays by Alec Boehm.
Yep.
I mean, the fact that he was able to get out of that unscathed and do a third to first double play,
Without Tuve.
that was amazing.
It was a great play by heads up baseball play. He baseball knowledgeable play because he made
And
the
the fact that the way he threw it across his body on an off angle, and he hit Hoskins right on the right in the glove. That, I mean, altogether, I mean, there's a lot of good you could take from this. This team, this could have got away from us a lot differently. But it was. I mean, I'm trying not to get. I know Mike's saying that they're done. I don't feel like they're done. I didn't see a deflated team. I didn't see like a wounded duck type team. Freddie, Meek Mills before the game. Hot take. That song sucks. Not a fan of the song either, Fred. And I love how he got caught lip syncing.
Yeah.
I love how he got caught lip syncing, and there's like, oh, gave up on it. Like, that's cool. I'm good. Like, it's just like, I'm not going to even try to redeem this.
So what was worse, the Meek Mill pregame performance or Brad Lidge's opening ceremonial first pitch to Carlos Ruiz that he put in the dirt? What was worse?
You were a World Series, perfect game pitcher. I guess that was worse. I mean,
well, you can tell he doesn't have it anymore.
That's true. All right, so I do want to throw a couple stats at you guys, and this is more of a postseason stat, not necessarily a World Series stat, but as we getting deeper into this, the Phillies have left 46 runners in scoring position with 2 outs throughout the postseason. They've struck out as a team 142 times, and they've got 109 hits. So they are literally striking out more than they are putting the ball in play or hitting the ball. But they have offset that with 23 home runs. And obviously, that's the recipe that this team has been following all season. This is not nothing new, especially to me, who's been looking at these numbers all year. I don't know if this is analytic baseball, if this is the 21st century type baseball where you can actually win without hitting.
This is 22. This is 2022 baseball. Baseball's trying to make the home run the most impressive thing.
Hence why they were promoting a home run derby for like some sort of like place on a roster or something like that, like juniors or something. They were promoting get your guys together and register for a home run derby in order to be entered into something or other. And I'm like, this is how much MLB values the home run. They value guys that can throw 102 miles an hour and guys that can hit 450 miles away.
Oh, yeah. I mean 20 years ago.
It is what it is. I mean, it's like watching a football game. You're watching a crap matchup football game that's like 13-7, nobody likes seeing that, but that's what it is sometimes. And unfortunately, once again, baseball 162 games, the latter happens a whole lot more than people would like to. By the way, speaking of football, just real quick, congratulations to the Eagles for staying 8-0. A little scary. I was peeking in at the game, watching it on my iPad while I was catching the Phillies game on the big screen. And also, for those who don't know, for scheduling purposes, we had a pregame and a halftime show, but we did not have a post-game show. That will be tomorrow at 11 a.m. with our boy Freddie Burns and Joe Sheeran. So that's why you did not see that tonight, knowing it would probably kind of intertwine with this, and we want to let the Phillies have the World Series due.
Big Mike's chiming back in, asking if we have faith in this team for Saturday. Let's go around the horn with that. I want to start. I do. I think this team is. I think the series goes 7. I really do. Now, once we get to Game 7, I don't know. It's probably definitely going to be an all hands on deck situation for both 6 and 7. I would not even be surprised to see Aaron Nola make an appearance in Game 7 if that's the case. But yeah, I do have faith in them Saturday. I think they go out in Houston and they do what they've been doing all season long, and that's fighting to the very end. And maybe we get that bounce of the ball. Maybe it does go off the wall this time for us instead of into McCormick's glove. So I do have faith in this team for Saturday. Al, where do you stand on that?
I think I made that point earlier. It's
Yeah.
I have faith. You have faith. It's that chip in the chair mentality. This team always does better while they're down than they do when they're in the driver's seat for the most part. So yeah, I mean, until they're done, I believe they have a chance. That's not just a homer in me. That's just the way this team has looked. Even there's times that they've looked listless and lifeless and whatever lists you want to throw in there, and it just did not. They still seem to keep it in front of them. I mean, for all intents and purposes, as I go through I keep inning by inning stats here of my own, and I go through it. By all intents and purposes, this should have been like a 5-6 to 1 or 2 game, maybe 3 at most, 6-3. So the fact that it was where it was shows you that they're not dead in the water.
Joe Marks?
Here's the thing. For Game 6, I have 2 feelings. I have my head and my heart. And most of my showmates will tell you I think with my heart more than I do my head most of the time, especially when it comes down to picking who I feel like is going to win. And my head says they're going to lose, but my heart says they're going to win because they've been fighting through this series. They've been fighting through the playoffs tooth and nail all the way through.
How they fought to get in the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, it was fight all season.
And it just seemed like they stepped it up a notch. Thinking about the idea that where we would be if we didn't have that come from behind in Game 1 against the Cardinals, like where this playoff story would be for the Phillies. So for me, yeah, we're playing with house money, and a buddy of mine was over the other night and he said, yeah, that's a great mentality, but it's difficult to get back to the World Series. Now, look, the Houston Astros have proven that that's not the case, but it is difficult to win a World Series. Back-to-back World Series champions haven't really been a thing of the present. So my heart is saying that they're gonna win because they have Wheeler on the mound. My head is doubting that if the guy now you said it's Valdez is starting,
Yeah.
so if he somehow struggles, which he didn't before, but if he somehow does, I really feel like Dusty Baker might pull the trigger on bringing in Javier because he really owned us, and if he can bring in Javier for 2 or 3 innings to give some clinchability, that's even a word.
It's now.
So clinchability to the World Series, I feel like Dusty Baker will do it. But no, I'm sticking with my team. I'm gonna wear the red all the way through.
I don't think Valdez gets the call in Game 6. I think Dusty would hold him for 7 for Game 7. The Astros unfortunately are in the driver's seat right now. They got the 3 games to 2 lead, and they got the next 2 at home, so they got time.
Traber did kind of owned us too. I mean,
Yeah,
it wasn't him who really hurt us. It was, you know what I mean. I mean, it wasn't him who that kept us anywhere in the game. So, I mean, you run with him, you still have that Game 7 to lie back on, like Matt said. They're in the driver's seat. I don't go with Christian Javier. I leave him be in case 7 comes up because he owned us. I mean, the other Valdez, he owned us, but no, Christian, he owned us. And Freddie, yes, bring the bunt back. you know, you would think with Topper, small ball would be more, or this kind of baseball would be more thought of at this point. I know the thought process isn't normal baseball right now, bunting, um, but maybe he didn't have faith in his bunting. I know a lot of people thought, the safety squeeze was in question with Brandon Marsh instead of when he struck out. Um, yeah, listen, you can second guess everything. Brandon Marsh comes up there, hits a single and they score, or flies it out and they score and it's tied up. You're not asking about safety squeezes and all that stuff. It's revisionist history at its finest. But like I
Loud
said,
noises, and that's what I meant by loud noises. All Marsh needed to do was hit it hard and long, and it's a sacrifice fly, and that run comes in, and I agree with you, Al. It's revisionist history, but like it's also practical baseball, and it's like when you start to, I felt like Marsh was it was too big of a moment for him. I really
well, he was the
do.
youngest guy on the team. I
Yep.
mean, and listen, that's a big moment for anybody at
Yeah.
any age. It's just, you know, I don't think that I don't know if it was the moment was too big. It was just the moment was not his moment. That's why they're called moments, because there's two people dealing right then and there. There's the pitcher and then there's the batter, and then if they hit the ball, then there's the defensive player. So it's not just one person's moment, but it can only be one person's moment. And unfortunately, it just wasn't Brandon Marsh's. Like I said, you had that rocket off the bat from Schwarber when that play at first base. That if that ball goes past him or it even
Yeah.
bounces off of him out of his glove, it's at least a single to a double.
Yeah.
And we score. We probably score and take the lead at that point.
I mean, it's going to go to the wall because it was hit 106 miles an hour off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
So if it gets past him, it's going all the way to the wall. It's going to that corner. And that's at least putting Schwarber on second and definitely scoring some runs. Um, I mean, they even said that if he doesn't make that play, the Phillies could have taken the lead. I mean, you've said it a couple times already, is there were opportunities for the Phillies this game, and we just missed out on them. And that's another reason why I feel like, despite some of the opportunities we left out on the field, which Matty B has pointed out, there were opportunities that we could have taken advantage of and didn't. That should give hope to Phillies fans going forward for Game 6, because look, that wasn't a one-run game. That was not a blowout. That was not like 5 runs like it could have been. But
Especially coming off the second no hitter in World Series history.
yeah,
This team. I think you just put up there. Robert Plank Jr. said this team seemed low energy. I don't know if I would say low energy, Robert. I would probably say more slow heartbeat, trying to control the moment, which is why this game was probably close. There's times you can look, especially now with HD TVs and how close the high def cameras they use and how close they get to these guys. You can see the sweat point. Like, take for instance when Brandon Marsh struck out and they had a close up of his face. He looked like he was going to cry.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he was going to cry, but he just looked like it. So he was very emotional. So I just think you're seeing, Robert, you're just seeing more of a slow heartbeat for them to control their emotions. Be it for what it is, instead of and maybe that's why Mickey Batts was up there not swinging away at anything that comes within his general proximity like he's known to do.
Let's not give him too much credit. I mean, he had his moments up there where he was still hacking in the dirt. But for the most part, I did see an improvement, Al. I will give you that. But
and that's
what
what you have to, I mean, like I said, if anything you had to take from that, you have to hope that this translates to the next game and it starts to produce, because it's all about the moment. You can have 1,000 home runs, but if you would lose 1,000 home runs, but I'm just saying you could hit home run after home run, but if you come up to bat and it's the difference between winning the World Series and losing the World Series, and you strike out, that's all we're going to remember. So that's what we have to hope. When the moment comes, when it's the moment, I'm talking the final moment, he can then produce, and that this moment leads to that moment. That these moments, this slow heartbeat, this more plate discipline, finally in the World Series after all this time, means something.
Yeah, and like I said, Matt, you have to kind of give Nick a lot of credit, because this is a guy that, like Smoltz even said during the commentary, is that he's normally out after out or has a hit after 2 swings of the bat. He's sitting in there for 10 and 8 swings of the bat on consecutive at bats. I mean, he's got to be exhausted right now. He's never been up at bat that long. I mean,
Are we worried about him being tired from being at bat for more than 3 pitches? Holy
maybe.
shit.
And we're really starting to kind of reach now. Listen, don't sell me on Nick Castellanos has been a bust this year. No one's going to tell me anything different. And that's the proof is there, or the proof isn't there. That's the problem.
I would say
I'm not saying
he
he's
was
not
as
going to work
streaky as
out.
Reese Hoskins was. I would
No,
say
he never came out of that streak. He was
there was
struggling.
times when, especially when Harper went down, him and JT, but him too, stepped up and had some clutch moments. To say that he was completely,
Look,
you know,
Castellanos is the one that got us that game 1.
and let's be honest, the guy who's known for the worst defense in Major League Baseball,
Yes.
apparently, his leather has saved some games. Let's not forget that as well. I mean, Reese Hoskins has almost cost us games and has cost us. I mean, let's be honest. Tonight, his little blooper there at first. Now, the hard play, I'm not taking that 100%, like putting that on him, but it wasn't an impossible play, and that could have been the difference between, a tie game right now and us going to extra innings.
Yeah, no. Listen, I'm not. This doesn't escape me, and I do believe eventually Castellanos will work out, and it'll be a good it'll be a good sign. And
I
and
think
he'll be a
he's known as the
cornerstone.
most aggressive man in baseball. I think next year, him and the plate discipline is going to be a key thing for him in this offseason.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. It's just that I don't know when you mentioned the moment being too big for certain people. We've seen it all season for certain players. Derek Hall is a perfect example. When he got his opportunity in a big moment, it didn't seem like he was ready for that. Kessler, he's been swinging everything he's swinging. It just seems like a second or split second late, and that's been what I've been seeing from him, and that's all season long. He hasn't felt or seemed like he was comfortable in the box for some odd reason. And maybe that's a mechanic he needs to work on and whatnot. But he is, I don't doubt that he's not going to work out. I think he will work out. It's just that right now, this season, for the most part, it's not been good. And, let's talk about this real quick, guys, because this was brought up in a couple of the comments, and I want to see where you stand. And Al, I know where I think you stand on this, but, Rob Thompson hasn't done really much of anything to switch the lineup around when things were struggling. And I guess it's worked out because here we are in game 6. But is it too late at this point? I mean, are we gonna think back over this in the winter and be like, why couldn't he just move somebody down or put Bohm in that 3 hole or put Bohm in that 5 hole or something? I mean, are we too late for that? Is that something that we shouldn't even be thinking about?
Is it too late? No, because we still have a game 6. So could he still do it? Sure, why not? I mean, once again, when the moments become too big, if that moment rolls around to them and they've been moved down and they kind of are feeling down because of the movement, does that affect the moment? I mean, that's a big if, but listen, let me ask you this question. If you did simple switch Castellanos and Bohm's position, or Castellanos and Alec Bohm's position, and so put Bohm at 5 and put Castellanos at 6. Does that get you guys nipples hard? I mean, like, I don't like, everybody talks about that. I saw that in the messenger a couple times. Like, does that make a big difference to you?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it does. Maybe it puts Bohm up in a situation where Castellanos would have been up, and but we can go all the way up down the lineup with this talk because obviously the Kyle Schwarber leadoff thing is something that's been talked about nauseam all season long, and we're not moving him right now. I don't know. Baseball's a game of inches, as we already know, and I don't know. Maybe it does.
Listen, we've been an unconventional team this whole time.
Oh yeah,
right.
Everything's been unconventional,
Yeah.
so to start thinking being conventional is going to help us win, I don't know. But time will tell, I guess.
I would say not necessarily moving. If you had to make a movement, to answer your question first, is it too late? But the answer is yes, only because when you start finagling with things now on a clinching game, you run the risk of just trying to evaluate, okay, I don't know what he's like in this part of the lineup. And now you have to, as a manager, you have to figure that out on the fly at a very crucial game. And you don't want to do that. You want to have things that are not unknowns. You want to have a lot of the things that are knowns. Now, let's go to what is a known. And we've covered this already about Castellanos. And I'm not sure I would switch Castellanos with Baum because you still have the Castellanos problem at 6. I would move Castellanos and Stott because I would put Stott or Baum at 5 and the other one at 6 because Stott has been having really good at bats for the most part this series. And I feel like when you have protection for someone like Bryce Harper, and we know that Bryce can get on base, having a guy that's going to have really good at bats, whether it's Alec Baum or Bryson Stott, that puts a lot more pressure on that pitcher. And then you got to think, well, God forbid, you have Bryce Harper at third, and you have either Stott or Baum at second or first, and now you have Castellanos coming up. Now all of a sudden the pitcher's got a bigger problem because now this is a guy that if he gets that hot streak or he gets that patience at the plate and gets the right pitch, he can make you pay. And I mean, let's not forget, let's not completely negate Castellanos' batting average and what he's been able to do. I'm not saying he's like batting lights out, but he's not batting like 200 like Kyle Schwarber was at one point in time. So, for me, yeah, it's too late because a manager needs to be able to evaluate the game as it's happening with the positions and the players in those positions as he's evaluated all season. That's why it's so critical when you make those changes to try and make them early on in the season.
I listen. I agree with you. I also agree with. You're right. Sitting in here behind this camera, whatnot. I'm not in the dugout. I'm not the one doing these things. I don't live with these guys. I don't know their tendencies. Everybody has the way they like to operate. It's just that, what is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over again and achieving the same results and never changing it. So I'm not saying that it's an insane move. It's just that this lineup has never been constructed balanced. We've known this. This is not news. We're not a balanced lineup. We are a power heavy, live by the home run, die by the home run lineup, and these are the things that you get from that. There is not adequate protection in that lineup for Bryce Harper. There's none. And you mentioned that. Who would be the adequate protection? Kyle Schwarber?
I would put Schwarber if there was a better leadoff option.
Yeah. So maybe that's something we look at in 23 when Trey Turner's here. But right now there's nothing that we can do.
Does Bryson Stott in your mind move up to a more significant spot in this lineup going forward next year?
If he puts on a little weight, muscle, yeah, because the one thing I can listen, there's a difference between having a quality at bat and then some success, right, versus just having these quality at bats where you're running up the pitch count a little bit, but nobody else is, so it's kind of pointless. Like he needs to work on his defense is leaps and bounds. The fact that this young kid, this rookie, was able to come up, run through the postseason, get to the World Series, hold on to his spot, tells you two things. Depth is an issue a little bit for this team, bench depth. But on top of it is he just doesn't have that power stroke. And maybe a little bit of a confidence thing. Like I said, he's a rookie. He's made leaps and bounds, barely made the club. You know what I mean? In the beginning of the season. Then give the Phillies credit when they said Didi, a guy who has, the ability to be good, just wasn't good at the time. They released Didi, and they turned to Bryson Stott and said, "Hey, Bryson, we have faith in you. We have faith in you. You can do this. We feel you can do this." He has produced. He's played defensively. That's why he's at the bottom of the lineup. He's not there to be the big hitter, but I think he can be a better hitter. Definitely not this year. Probably. Maybe he'll have a clutch hit. That'd be great. But he's going to have to put on a couple pounds of muscle and be able to be a clutch hitter, not worry about power, because that's the other thing. When you're surrounded by power, everybody thinks they have to hit for power. Like
No.
you have to kind of know his role a little bit, and just be that guy who hits singles and doubles and maybe grabs a triple here and there. I don't care if he ever hits a home run again.
Yeah, we desperately need that type of hitter in this lineup. We need a contact hitter. We need a guy that puts the ball in play, on the ground, or as you mentioned, down the line. Somebody that gets on base, contact hitting. That's how we score runs. That's how we get those runners that are on base in, without relying on the home run. And I don't remember this being a problem back in March when I was high fiving myself for signing Schwarber and Castellano, saying, "Oh, we're going to smash 800 home runs this year." Obviously, that doesn't work out the way I think.
Schwarber has done exactly what we asked him to do. I mean, hit 50, what was it?
And then some.
41 home runs in the regular
46.
season.
46.
What's he up to now? 53?
51? 51.
52.
52.
Tonight was
Okay.
52.
That happens. That's what happened. I mean, like, he did exactly what he was supposed to do in the leadoff position, might I add. And he's played first base every day. Every day he's played first base unless when Harper was hurt. He had a couple days off. But for the most part, nice name of your YouTube page, by the way. Astros are going to win the 2022 World Series. Did you just change that or create that?
It's probably Sergey.
Is it so? Yeah, it's Sergey. Mets fan. But Tay Smith, Game 7, Phil's pulled out. Remember, I said this. Today, I will lovingly hoist a trophy with your name on it if they pull that off. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there. I hope I get to say Tay Smith was right. He was absolutely right.
Right. I'll attest to that as well. I'll sign off on that affidavit. All I'm saying is this. I got it. This is what we have. But right now we got to find a way to get some offense, and maybe it's just a matter of the guys that we have in the roles that they're in. Just understanding that more. I don't know what else to. I'm looking for the magic wand, and it's not there. Not in 22. Maybe it's there next season.
22.
Trey Turner's here, but it's not here right now.
I'm sure no matter what, after the World Series parade we have in South Philly, maybe a couple weeks down the line, maybe in December, we have a little hot stove talk before all starts. Trades are made and people are released and whatever else have you. We'll be talking a lot about that because there could be a good couple of guys whose last games were played in Citizens Bank Park, and it's not just Reese; it could be Gene Segura.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot of people. There's this team could look a lot different and be a whole different team and be a more complete team. Once again, I still have to give this team, a lot of credit for being as I mean, what would be more Philadelphia than being an unconventional team that got as far as we did?
Oh, absolutely.
It's just exactly how this team works. It's how the city works. We're unconventional. People pigeonhole us to be one thing, and we show them that we're not.
And to even chime in even more to that, look at where we're at right now. We're at Game 6 of the World Series with the Astros, which, like I like to keep reminding people, the national pundits didn't even give us a chance in this series, and we're giving it all to the Astros and then some. And that's one of the reasons why I have a lot of confidence going into Game 6. It's because I don't expect anything less. I really don't. I think on the off day, you're going to see a lot of these guys kind of rally together, look over video. They're going to learn from what happened in Game 2. Don't think for a minute that they're going to go into this game of Valdez, not have a scouting report.
Oh, they're going to watch video upon video upon video. This will probably be the whole plane ride. They're going to watch Game 2. They're going to be looking at Game 2. They're going to sit down as a group and say, here's Reese's at bats. Here's Bryce's at bats. They're going to stare at it. They're going to wear those VR goggles and sleep with them on. They're going to know before Valdez scratches his ass what's going to happen.
Now, what do you do about the whole conspiracy?
Listen? You keep your eye real close on it, because I think here's my thing is I think some managers, except for Mets managers, are really they're really cautious on what they call out on people,
right?
Because especially when you're down, it kind of looks a little like, all right, we're trying to come up with a reason why we're not winning. But I think most of all, if there's any truth to that, And if there wasn't, there should have been some sort of small investigation. At least maybe there was, and we just don't know about it. For Major League Baseball, like, especially with this team, like the last thing you need is another asterisk next to the Astros. And God forbid if you do it against Philadelphia, you'll be sorry.
Yeah,
You'll never let it down. I'll be 75 years old and we'll be like, Houston, fuck Houston. Like,
that was the guy that was putting Crisco in his pocket.
Yeah, right.
Well, there was a conversation I had with a buddy of mine, and he was telling me about how it's interesting that the umpires in that game let it go as far as it did because there was a rule implemented. Well, actually, there's two, but they're all under the same one. There's the Joe Blanton rule, where you're not allowed to pick up dirt from the mound and use it to kind of grip the baseball
Draw
better.
your hands, yeah.
Yeah, because Blanton did that and he had the dirt on his hat, the bill of his hat, and he's like, well, it was because I wiped my hands with the dirt and everything, and they made the Joe Blanton rule. But there was the other rule, and I forget who it was named after, but it had to do with slicking back your hair. You can only do it so many times a game because what people were realizing was that they were putting either like oil or grease or stickum or something in their hair, and it just looked like they slicked back their hair. So they would just easily take what they got from their hair, rub it on their hand, put it in the glove, and then pitch the ball. That's why they're checking hats, because if there's any residue in the hat from the hair, they would see it. But I guess if the rule is there enough, you're gonna have people figuring out how to get around it. That's the key thing. I know that cheaters never prosper, but cheaters always exist.
Yeah, it's true. All right, gentlemen, running a little bit late on time, so let's wrap this up. I'm going to start off with something that we kind of touched on a little bit, and then I want to hear your parting shots and final words. But win, lose, or draw, this was the final game at Citizen Bank Park for the 2022 season, and there's a little bit of bittersweetness for that for me. Obviously, this has been a great season to date. We could not have asked as fans for anything more than what we've gotten. And tonight was the final game that's going to be played at Citizen Bank Park, and that's a little sad for me to kind of realize that. Hopefully, we will all assemble there here in a few days again in celebration. But to get to this part of the season where there'll be no more home games, it was a great place to be this summer. Balls were flying out of there. The energy returned, even though it took a little bit of convincing for the fans to come back. I was really happy to be part of it, and I'm going to miss it probably more than I've ever missed a home part of the baseball season ever in my life. So I'm going to go to Al. Al, what are your final thoughts and parting shots?
Yeah, to kind of go along with what you're saying, yeah, once again, I don't want to do this like whole congratulations thing, but the fact that this was our first year of doing the finals, the Phightins finals, that you were able to carry this torch as far as you have, and I've been a part of a good portion of it, and I appreciate you for doing that and let me be part of it. I guess because it's so special that when we decided to do this, the thought of the World Series was kind of like not there. So yeah, it's gonna have a little bit of an emotion to it. I mean, like I said, baseball is such a different beast compared to all other four sports. You can have a game every day of the week. Every day of the week. You can go 10, 14 days without having a day off. So, you have games that start at 10 o'clock at night, so there's a thing like, it's like you're so used to thinking about it. It's going to be weird not to think about it from now until, the end of March, beginning of April.
Yeah,
so,
no, it is. So what are your final thoughts?
Bittersweet knowing that I know I can't go to a Phillies game at the stadium now, and it's all when it all comes down, it's going to be done in Houston. I'll just be happy when it all comes down.
Yeah, me too. All right, Joe Marks, your final thoughts, parting shots, anything?
Well, here's the thing: is this season has been a roller coaster. So many different twists and turns. ebbs and flows, everything in between. And I remember being on this show when it's debating about whether or not Reese should be here or not, or JT's a good player, and who's in the new Maddie's clubhouse, Maddie's Mush clubhouse. You know,
Sounds like a kid
this
show.
this is the thing that this is the thing that like I feel with this team, and I heard this on the radio a couple times, and honestly, I think it's very prophetic. Win, lose, or draw, whether it's one game or two, just everyone sit back and enjoy, because we were potentially never supposed to be here, and for us to be here, regardless of how long it takes to get back, whether or not we get back next year or whatever, just enjoy the environment, just enjoy the excitement, because the Phillies are going to give you excitement. That's not a question mark.
Oh yeah.
They're going to give you excitement, maybe even a little bit of a heart palpitation like I had earlier. But this season has been enjoyable, and even to the joyous end or the bitter end, the fighting Phillies will continue to fight, just like the fighting's final will always continue to move on.
Yeah, and we will be back throughout the off season talking, as Al said, some hot stove stuff and whatnot. But I'm not ready to give up on this yet. This dream
Oh
is
no, God no.
it's still there.
Here's the funny thing is though, me and my wife were talking today, and she goes, we were just kind of sitting down and having dinner, and I talking about all the the games we went to, and I bought every postseason, World Series, NLCS, DS piece of memorabilia or hat or sweatshirt. And I'm not going to say the number live on the air, but it was gross. And to put it in perspective, I didn't pay for every ticket I went to. So
By the way, Al, can I do a cheap plug for a minute?
Sure.
Big Mouth Philly Sports Facebook group. Go on there, check out some links that I put up there. If you're still looking for NLCS championship gear, any kind of gear that you want, just message me. I will make sure to get it to you.
There you go. I bought my stuff from there. See.
All right. So before we head out, let's do some. Let's pay some bills. The EOP schedule, even though it's been Philly centric over the last couple weeks, it's still chock full of some great stuff. Al mentioned earlier tonight you had the pregame and the halftime show for the Eagles game, and of course tonight was the Phightins final for Game 5. Tomorrow, Eagles Texans recap. That's going to be the postgame show at 11 a.m. Chalk Talk, Kelly Green Hour. Sixers and Knicks postgame tomorrow night as well. And I promise for all you puckheads, just hang in there with me a few more days. The Clear the Ice, the Flyers post-game show will return, hopefully before they dip below 500. That's my goal.
We're fixing the Zamboni.
So we'll get back to that as soon as we possibly can. Looking forward to carrying you guys through the winter with that. Also, Dolans, don't forget, this is obviously now this is coming up on Saturday, Game 6. Mickey Morandini, right, Al? He's still going to be in-house. Al, you there? Can you hear me? Oh, he stepped away. But Mickey Morandini will be in-house for Game 6 at Dolan's Bar. Make sure you head down there and check it out. It should be a party. Definitely should be a party. And with that being said, if things get a little bit too rough at your party and you have any questions about workman's comp, motor vehicle accidents, personal injury, or criminal law, Dave Cherry, 610-565-0300 is the man you want to give a call. Tell him Matty B and EOP sent you. And Philly Sports Trips, they were in Houston tonight. Once again, we brought the home crowd to the Texans, as it was once again very deafening when the Eagles were scoring touchdowns. So go over to Philly Sports Trips, check out everything they have to offer. Just because the baseball season is winding down doesn't mean that they're winding down. Football is still in big time. As you can see, these are the games they got coming up. They got Sixers trips going out. They got Flyers trips going out. And, of course, their Phillies 2023 spring training schedule is already up as well. Go head over to phillysportstrips.com and check them out. And
And it's going to be a busy Philadelphia Saturday, folks. You're
yes,
going to have a 3:30 Union Championship game, followed by Game 6 of your World Series with the Phillies and the Astros. So buckle up Saturday, and we'll kick it off with Patterson at Fanatics. But believe me when I tell you, it's going to be a long day Saturday.
yeah, Saturday's going to be it's going to be a one, and let's hope Sunday's a long day too. So
Yes.
that's the main goal for the weekend. All right, for Big Al, who I don't know where he went, and for Joe Marks of the Patterson Ave Fanatics, you guys have a good night. Keep the faith, keep the dream alive. Go Phillies. We will talk again after Game 6, and we'll talk to you then. See ya.
Let's go.